What up, recounts? But before we bring you another episode of Podcast Gold, let me tell you about the homies over at Michigan's Finest. Do you ever find yourself trying to get yourself together and thinking, man, this is going to be a great night, but I'm looking for that little extra something? Well, check out our friends at Michigan Finest. If you are into medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, concentrates, vapes, anything of that sort, Michigan's Finest has got you covered. And as you can see here, it's all easily done by their website. It's all curbside, and you'll be in and out in 2 minutes. And they're family owned and operated, so customer service is their number one goal. And now, since they are rocking with knockouts and 3 counts, use the code KO3MF. Yes, that's KO3MF. You get 10% off your entire order, but that does exclude featured items and items that are already on sale. But if you use that code, you're getting 10% off your items, and I promise you, either if you're looking for that big knockout or you're ready to hit the sheets for that 3 count, Michigan's Finest will get you together. Tell them knockouts and 3 counts sent you, and I promise you, you're going to be having a great night. Peace.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby. It's the real deal, baby.
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? It is another Thursday. This is Knockouts and 3 Counts. What up, though? Chris checking in from Massachusetts. Are y'all motherfuckers getting any snow up there already? Because they say we're supposed to be getting a lot more here, which may not bode well for J-Bone, being that he's still stuck in Florida. I told you, me and Spirit. That's why we don't get along no more. Fuck you, Spirit. But with that being said, I don't gotta fuck you, Spirit, because there's a lot of good things that are going down this weekend. Astronomicon is going down. I saw The Godfather is in town, and it might be time for the whole train, or at least a smoke train. But that being said, Astronomicon is in Michigan. We've got the likes of The Godfather and Devon Dudley and Trish Stratus and Sabu and Sandman and Rhino are all going to be there. Astronomicon, as well as the fine folks from Clerks and all kinds of other. Who the hell else knows who's going to show up there? Plus, you got Twisted and all them going to be there performing. It's going to be a good time. So, as well as our past guest of the show and the homie from Dave and Chuck the Freak, JC James Campbell will be down there. I will see you down there as well, my friend, at some point. So, if you make your way down to Astronomicon, make sure you are on the lookout for your boys from Knockouts and 3 Counts. You never know where you might just find us. But with that said, like I said, there is a lot of good stuff going down. Obviously, I am looking forward to checking out Astronomicon. As I said, I saw The Godfather, and then we're hitting up our fine friends over at Nicola's Barbecue. I'm a little jealous. I could take a plate of wingdings right now, because just because you can't hear it doesn't mean it's not happening. My stomach is going nuts. But all of you guys who are watching, make sure you hit that like button, comment button, all those buttons, share it, let everybody know that you're watching it. What are you guys looking forward to most? And are you watching AEW Revolution? Are you watching UFC 285? Or are you watching both of them? I will be, for one, watching both of them. But let us know in the comments what you're going to be watching. Corey, how the fuck are you on a Thursday?
I am doing well, man. Doing well. Like you said, kind of hoping tomorrow isn't quite as bad as they talk it up to be. As long as everybody ain't losing power and shit like they were, like what we just dealt with the last storm, I think we'll be okay. That's what I'm kind of worried about. But other than that, man, ready to get this week in the books. Like you say, got a hell of a pay-per-view lined up. One of my kids was sick last week, so I had to push back my anniversary celebration. So we've moved that to this weekend. So I got a busy weekend as well. Look forward, though, to seeing what kind of content you guys are able to pull out of Astronomicon this year. I know you guys have had some great success there in the past, so excited for you.
All right, Chris is watching AEW Revolution. What matches are you looking forward to, bro? You'll have to chime in as we get there, as well as that. With that being said, I am looking forward to it too. For those of you guys who have been following us for a while, Astronomicon are the fine folks who helped us land the interviews with Booker T and Bruce Pritchard, and one of our interviews with Eric Bischoff, as well as I mean, we've got to do a lot of cool stuff at Astronomicon. Shout out to Dave, RIP Dave, and all that good stuff. All of them. So
All of them.
yeah, he's looking forward to Revolution. I am too. But before I mean, all right, since he says he's watching Revolution, I guess we'll start with Revolution. With that being said, Chris, I want to know, did you watch Dynamite? What are your thoughts on the Face of the Revolution ladder match? Because the match itself was fire. The person who won the match, fire. But man, this production stuff with the ladders, I don't understand how we keep having this shit happen.
Yeah, you were kind of telling me the
good
story
shit.
about it before we went live there, Kyle, and it sounds like that's, to your point, I know it was behind the scenes, but that is kind of the one thing that AEW continues to do that maybe they could improve upon in one way or another, is their ability to make the production seem, maybe hide a little bit of the flaws that they may bring once in a while. Because, when you're putting on live entertainment, there is some things that you may want to cover up for the broadcast, viewers out there.
I mean, I can't argue with you, Chris. The match was dope. I'm not saying that the match wasn't dope, but like little stuff like that, or like when Jericho fell off the top of the cage and you could see where he's fallen and all that kind of stuff. Just little stuff like that drives me nuts. But overall, it was a good show for AEW. I definitely think it was a good bounce back from what we saw on Raw, because Raw, I don't think, was the best show that they've had in a while. I mean, they've been on a pretty good run of good shows, but I think all in all, as you said, Chris, AEW Revolution is shaping up to be a pretty good show. And again, I've talked about this before on the show. I'm a big fan. I was at Revolution a couple years ago, so ring the motherfucking bell. Shout out to our homie Mega Ran. But with that being said, the good thing with AEW pay-per-views, a lot of people complain because of how long they are and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing, with them being that long and there not being as many pay-per-views, I'm not so mad at it, because you get your bang for your buck for what you're paying for. And let's talk a little bit about that. Since you mentioned that match, I'll talk about the Elite versus House of Black first. I'm really glad that we're seeing the House of Black get kind of vamped up in the trios division, because I think for a while everybody was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. And then, we all know Malachi Black went away for a little bit because he needed some time for himself. But since they've been back away, they showed up on Wednesday on Dynamite with the lights out. As soon as Carry On My Wayward Son hits and then the lights go out, the House of Black takes him out, stands over him with the belts, and then the lights go out again and poof, they're gone. So I'm definitely looking forward to that match too. I think the combination of the six of them with Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black, and Brody King versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, I mean, that match is going to be fire. I will say the trios division has been one thing at AEW that I've really been a big fan of since its inception. And I feel like this match is going to be the same thing. I feel like these six guys are going to kill it. You also got to remember you've got Julia Hart on the outside. We're going to have to see what happens. Yeah. With that being said, I'm kind of interested to see, like, there's been all the talk in the news about Kenny Omega and, whether he would ever want to go to WWE or all those kind of things too. It's like, I mean, right now, it's okay to speculate with that stuff, but I wouldn't put it past necessarily that we might ever see any of those guys being, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, any of them going over there. I mean, we've already seen Cody go over there. Cody was one of the three big kingpins. They're all still under contract. So, I mean, obviously nothing to talk about right now, but
it's such a, you never know. I mean, like, especially like we've mentioned since the whole Triple H, I don't want to say rebranding of WWE, but I'm sure to a lot of
his takeover on the creation.
Well, what I'm saying though is I'm sure to a lot of the talent, especially the free agents or the talent that have worked with WWE in the past. Especially the free agents or we got an echo going. Talent that But when when the whole takeover, like you said, happened, Kyle, there was a lot of the people from behind the scenes, like you said, that said, hey, maybe I got burned in the past from the whole Vince experience and stuff like that. And now that it is the Triple H thing, to your point, maybe they will, let their contracts ride out this, that, and the other. But I feel like they've at least allowed that door to be cracked open where before it may have been shut, if you know what I mean.
Well, I definitely would say since Triple H has come into power, I mean, I definitely think there's a lot more chance that a lot of people, whether it's Kenny or the Bucks who haven't been there, or somebody like FTR maybe who has been there, and has been a little bit away for a little while now, and we're gonna see what they do next. I think that door is open for a lot of people to go back to WWE, where I think a lot of people weren't considering it while Vince was still under control, because you got to also take into effect, not only was that, but I mean, we've already heard since the debut of Mercedes Moné in New Japan and her winning the title from Kyrie, that William Regal and Triple H both reached out to her. So I mean, I think we could see a lot more movement now, as long as things stay the way they are with Triple H and them being in control. But I think regardless, I think AEW Revolution is going to be another banger of a pay-per-view. But with that being said, Chris brings up Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. That's been one of my biggest complaints when it comes to AEW, is I wish we had a little bit more story in this one. I really feel like they've done a good job with that, with Joe cutting Wardlow's hair, and Wardlow's hair kind of being a little bit of an ode to his father. And so now there's that going into it. Now you've got the new look Wardlow coming back to try to, get back what was his. Because don't forget, I mean, Wardlow never lost that title, when he was TNT champion. So if he's able to get it back here, I think he'd be a great champion. But then again, I really like Samoa Joe, as he calls it, as the king of TV, as the TNT champion and the ROH television champion. I'm a big fan of it. I'd like to see it defended every week, at least one of them every week on TV. We also had, starting today, we had the re-debut of Ring of Honor TV has now debuted on Honor Club. So shout out to past guests of the show, Shane Taylor and JD Griffey, and past guests of the show, Rohit Raju, who is also having a match there at the Ring of Honor taping. So make sure, if you guys are around, make sure you check out Ring of Honor, show some love, and while you're at it, go check out those chats with Shane T and the boys. But like I said, that match is definitely one of the ones I'm looking forward to. As far as who I think's going to win the TNT title, especially with it being a television title, I could see it having a lot more a lot more flip-flop to it, and I think Wardlow is a good person to have that belt on. As far as new guys that they have that are, I mean, because a few months ago, dude, he was hot. They kind of cooled him off when he went away for a month, but I mean, to have him back now, you're playing the card of the fact that he didn't ever lose the belt. I think it's going to be a hard hitting match. You got two big ass dudes. We're going to have to see if we get the Powerbomb Symphony out of it. But with that being said, I think we're going to see a new champion, dude. I think we're going to see Wardlow become your new TNT champion. Chris, if you're watching, who do you got, Wardlow or Samoa Joe, since that's the match you said you're looking forward to? Another match non-title that I think is going to be badass. We talked a little bit about this, before we went on the air, but I think Jon Moxley versus Hangman Page, the first couple matches they've had have been badass. The fact that they're doing it in a Texas death match, which means no rules, I think it's going to be a great match. Definitely could steal the show. And if what we've seen from Jon Moxley of late is of any precursor, I think we're going to see a lot of blood, dude. I think we're going to see a lot of blood in this match.
That's for sure.
And I don't know, man. I think I want to say Moxley's going to get the win, but I feel like Hangman really needs this one. So if I'm picking, I'm going to go Hangman.
My question is, we know in particular Moxley has quite a bit of experience in the deathmatch realm, right? So this isn't something out of the ordinary necessarily for him. Now, what about Hangman? What's his experience like in this realm? Is it?
He hasn't done too much as far as death matches per se, but at the same time, like it's not the first time we've seen Hangman Page bleed.
I'm also sure that the AEW deathmatch will be, you know, a little more TV
Well, so
presentable.
a Texas death match isn't so it's not going to be like a barbed wire death match or anything like that, like some of the stuff you're seeing at GCW. But with this being like the culmination of the Hangman Page Moxley story, I think you're going to see a war. I think you're going to see a lot of blood. I think you're going to see some people get fucked up. That's going to be a match that I don't think, like I said, I don't think we're going to be too disappointed in. If I'm picking, like I said, I'm going to go with Hangman Page on this one. Another match that I think is going to be really good that could steal the show that's non-title is Chris Jericho versus Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks has been very underrated for a long time. Chris Jericho is widely considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest in some people's opinions. I think this match is going to be done very well. I think the promo work that we've seen from both guys here has been good. And I think, the story of Jericho wanting to get one back on Ricky Starks like that, I think it's going to be badass. I think, I feel like this could be like a coming out party for Ricky Starks. I don't know. You know what? Fuck it. Ricky Starks is going to get the dub on this one. I think Ricky Starks is going to get him a landmark win on Jericho. But then again, don't forget about the Jericho Appreciation Society and Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia and Daddy Magic and all the people you got there. Don't forget about them because, like I said, there's going to be some shenanigans in that motherfucker.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
He's just that old crafty vet too, right? You constantly see him put in there with these type of guys where you're like, this is going to be the guy, right? They're going to put him over on Jericho. This is the guy. And then Jericho still finds a way to he makes these matches look great with the guys. So he still helps build them up in, his own way, but still comes out victorious. So he continues his path, Jericho's been on a very interesting ride from an outsider's perspective, at least in the AEW realm. He's done a great job, but it's just very interesting for sure.
Jericho's a legend any way you look at it. The stuff that guy has been able to do through all the companies. I mean, he's one of the last guys who really came up like that old school way, like wrestling in Germany, wrestling in Mexico, wrestling in Japan, Canada, America, anywhere you can really think, and still to continue to reinvent himself, still to continue to be having the best matches, still, is he maybe as fast as he used to be? Maybe not. Okay, is he a step slower? That's a father time. But the thing is,
that's fine. He still puts his all into it, and you can tell he's really dedicated to his craft. Yeah, he's still dedicated to his craft.
There's a reason why he's still at that top level. Yes, he's got his name, but he wouldn't still be up there going if he wasn't still at that level. And when you talk about Ricky Starks, dude, there's a lot of comparisons with him to people like The Rock and things like that. And with the way that guy talks and with the way that he's dressing and things like that, I can see the comparisons. But man, you talk about a guy who's going to be a star for years to come. Ricky Starks is a blue chipper, dude. There's no way to argue that. There's no way to fight it. Ricky Starks is going to be a star for AEW for a long time. All right. The other match, obviously, that everyone's going to be talking about is you got MJF, Bryan Danielson, 60-minute Iron Man match. Can MJF survive Bryan Danielson? Because if you watched Wednesday and you watched the promo segment, you heard it out of Danielson's mouth. He said, "You're going to get your fucking head kicked in," end quote. And Bryan Danielson's the guy to do it. I've watched him kick many a motherfuckers in the head, many a motherfuckers in the chest. And I don't need that smoke. But MJF kind of signed himself up for that. I've really loved the build with this stuff. Dead ass, like not argue it. No, I mean, sure, were there things that you didn't get, but I mean, between the promo work that we've seen with MJF, the promo work that we've seen from Danielson, Max saying that he's so unlovable that even his own fiance left him. Like, I mean, dude, the stuff that guy says on the mic and going after Danielson's kids and his wife and all the stuff that he said. Look, you may hate MJF, but ultimately that's what you're supposed to be doing. But at the very least, that guy's mouth can start a fire. So, like I said, I am very much looking forward to this. I love the 60-man Iron Man stipulation because it kind of eliminates MJF from being able to have like the cheap way out in theory of victory. And it gives a guy like Bryan Danielson an advantage. But then again, I like it from the standpoint of there ain't nowhere to go. There ain't nowhere to run. There's an hour in that match. And ultimately, we're going to get one winner. And if MJF can go in there and last 60 minutes with a guy like the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, and survive, I think that brings a whole nother layer to MJF. It only makes him a stronger carrier, stronger character, stronger champion. But I wouldn't be shocked if old Bryan Danielson could pull him out one. I feel like Sunday is going to be really telling because with everything that we've been seeing with AEW and what you hear and what you see, what you believe is up to you. But I mean, the story of what they've told with that, I've really enjoyed it. I wish there were some more story to some of the other stuff, but dude, a 60-minute Iron Man match with Bryan Danielson and MJF. Say what you want. MJF looks like $1 million right now. If he really is in shape, I feel like those 60 minutes, that's going to be a war, dude. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, that definitely has the potential to be, a wild match. I know MJF, he not only drops killer promos, like you said, he also does, pretty great work in the actual square. So I'm excited to see what that match ends up being for sure, because I feel like that one has the most potential for fireworks on the night.
Well, definitely too, because I mean, yes, do we know that MJF has been able to pull most of it out? But in a match of a 60-minute Iron Man match, I mean, we all know that he's trying to get a win by any means necessary. And in this pretty much is going to cut out the bullshit to the point where he ain't going to be able to run. He's not going to be able to just get a quick and easy, oh shit, I pulled this out and it's over.
Yeah.
He's going to have to.
How's that work with pins and shit like that?
So every pin or submission or disqualification counts as a point. Whoever has the most falls at the end of the hour wins.
Okay, so either way it goes the hour essentially is what you're saying.
Yeah, it goes the hour
unless there's some injury or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Unless something happens to where they stop it. But yeah, you go for an hour. Whoever has the most pinfalls.
I like that. That's a very interesting dynamic, especially for somebody like MJF. Bryan Danielson's definitely a proven talent. He's showcased that
he's got a gas tank for days.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's shown that he can definitely not only live in these type of matches, but thrive in those type of matches. So MJF's got some big boots to fill come Sunday. That's for sure.
And here's the thing, I mean, again, everybody might be a fan of what MJF says here and there, but dude, at the very least, I mean, if you're going into a match, like we just said, with a guy like Bryan Danielson, who has a gas tank like Bryan Danielson has, I mean, if you can't match him air for air, which, I mean, I'm not saying that that's what MJF's going to try to do. I mean, the next best thing would be to try to throw him off his game. And I mean, how much better way to throw a man off his game than to go talk about his daughter?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying I condone the strategy. It could blow up in his face, but at the same time, it also could give him a mental advantage. So we're going to have to see how that goes through. Corey, I'll let you pick first. Do we get a new champion or no?
I could, with the stipulations of the match, I could definitely see it going that way, but it seems like what you were saying with MJF always finding a way to be able to pull some of these out. It's really hard to pick against him, and the fact that he's like in my eyes, at least, the media slash fan darling right now for AEW. It'd be really hard for them to strip the title off him at this moment, in my opinion. But at the same time, you could also build off the back of that story again, So I don't know, man. I honestly don't know which direction to go. I think this, with the stipulations of the match, it makes my mind lean towards Danielson, but with the way things have continued to play out, like I said, I want to say MJF, but it's such a toss up for me. I don't know which way to go, honestly.
I want to say that MJF's going to be able to pull it out. At the same time, though, if there were ever a set of circumstances for
And
Brian,
has he held AEW gold yet? Not to interrupt you, but
no, he hasn't.
no. So this would be even more of a reason yet again for him to, finally
Exactly.
put that one to bed type of deal. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm going to go with Danielson on this one. I feel like the stipulations of the match are going to play into his favor. For those of you guys who are watching, who you got? Main event, AEW Revolution. Do you got Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, or do you think Triple B is staying with MJF? Either way, I obviously think that match is going to be one of the killers on the night. Obviously going to be probably your main event. I don't know, man. It's just so up in the air of how that one can go, where that one can go. But then again, like I said, it's just another example of the state of pro wrestling. I mean, dude, you got Revolution here March 5th, and then at the end of the month, it's time for WrestleMania. I'm getting on a trip. I'm headed to LA. Hopefully I don't get stuck like J-Bone, but I'm going. I'm getting on a plane, and it ain't going to be on Spirit. So I should be all right. I am definitely looking forward to LA. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania. If you guys are going to be in the area, or if you're watching WrestleMania, let us know what you're looking for in the comments, but definitely be on the lookout. And speaking of the State of Pro Wrestling, make sure you check out the State of Pro Wrestling. The links to their stuff are in the comments. If you love pro wrestling interviews and breakdowns and all that stuff like you get here, the homies from State of Pro Wrestling will get you together. Tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. And if you're in the Minnesota area, be looking out at a show near you. I don't know. I'm very much so looking forward to Revolution. We're going to have to see how it plays out. Shout out to Chris. Chris says that he's looking forward to House of Black versus the Elite. And he likes Hobbs being on there. Again, Hobbs won the face of the Revolution ladder match. He's going to face the winner of Samoa Joe and Wardlow on Sunday. Now, here's the question. Do you think Hobbs comes out and maybe tries to influence who wins that match? Maybe to help pick his own opponent?
Absolutely could. I know if I was in that position, I know I would be doing that.
I mean, but here's the question. Okay, so it's Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. I mean, is there really a better pick of the two?
I mean, Wardlow's a big dude, right? So
is Samoa Joe.
Yeah, but different shapes, right? Different shapes, for sure.
Yeah, so I go ahead.
I personally, I'm picking the guy that looks a little easier in my mouth, and he's more of a legend. So, like, I feel like a victory over him, like, to somebody who may be not paying attention to the current AEW landscape, but hears about that match, would be like, oh, so and so beat Samoa Joe. So
you'd rather face Wardlow? I mean, I
would rather face Samoa Joe because because I feel like the victory would be bigger.
Okay, and I could see that, but let me play devil's advocate for a minute. So you say that you would rather face Joe because he's not aesthetically as pleasing. And
the legendary status of
his legend being a bigger win for Hobbs if he wins. Let me play devil's advocate though. Let's not forget who the fuck you're talking about. You're talking about the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe. This guy can kick your head off. He can submit you. He can tie you up in a fucking pretzel. And even with them being that big, that fucker can fly too. So
Yeah.
whether it's the Powerbomb Symphony of Wardlow or getting put to sleep by Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs has got a hell of a road ahead of him to get that TNT championship.
Maybe he just goes in there and makes sure both guys come out of it, going through it, if you know what I mean. Maybe that's what we see.
Oh, so maybe an old ref bump, and then we see old Hobbs make himself an appearance. I wouldn't be shocked at that either. But I like the story they've told with Hobbs, like telling up how he came up and all those things, and like now him being brought up. I definitely like that they're building up some of the young guys. I think Hobbs definitely could be a good runner for them for sure. Again, all of you guys, if you're tuning in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Shout out to our sponsor, State of Pro Wrestling. Let us know what you're looking forward to on AEW Revolution this weekend. All right. There's also a hell of a fight. I mean, the return of a guy named Jon Jones. But before we get to the return of Jon Jones, you've also got the return of a little bit of money, bro. I got a little bit of return of money anyway. I am looking forward to LA now, thanks to our fine sponsors at G3 Payroll and Tax. Jack got me together. I got some money in my motherfucking pocket. Get you some money in your pocket, file your taxes, and make sure Uncle Sam ain't coming to try to kick you in the dick. Hit the link, hit Jack up, tell him Knockouts and 3 Count sent you, and do that. And maybe we'll have to take the Godfather to see our other sponsor, Michigan's Finest. Do that too. But with that being said, the return of Jon Jones, UFC 285. It's been 3 years since this motherfucker's been in the cage, and that's not even the whole enchilada. You got Valentina Shevchenko is fighting Alexa Grasso, who has been on a tear. I think this is going to be a good fight for her, but man, when you talk about Valentina Shevchenko, bro, I mean, if she beats Grasso, I mean, pretty soon we're going to start running out of fucking opponents at some point.
If we're going to lead off there, I actually disagree. I feel like women's 125 has made a huge improvement over the last couple months.
There's definitely contenders,
not
but I mean,
months,
as far
but
as
even like last year and a half, really, because you got like the Minan Faroes, the Blanchfields, you got
Blanchfield definitely inserted herself right in there. Do you think that she has what it takes to be right in there with Valentina or Grasso, or do you think she should have another fight first?
I think she should have one more. I mean, as much as I was super hyped off that performance, and that was an insane. I feel like you still gotta prove it a little bit more. But that being said, I mean, like Minan Faroes out on injury, like you said, they got Grasso already in there. Who would you really match her up against that makes sense? I feel like
everybody else is tied up, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what I'm saying. So I could definitely see it happening, and I know she's already kind of pulling for International Fight Week if Valentina's ready by then. So I could see it. I could definitely see it, But if we're gonna lead off with this fight, though,
well, I mean, we don't necessarily got to leave off with that fight. I'm just saying, even though Jon Jones is the headliner, I mean, you've got. I'm just saying the main card
it's incredibly
stacked. So before we get to the main card, I know you said there were a couple fights you wanted to point out on this one. What fights are you looking forward to? UFC 285. If you guys are watching UFC 285, let me know what the fuck you guys are betting on. I mean, I'm always throwing you guys out these parlays, which my parlay won me some motherfucking money last week. Although I didn't win.
The only time we forget to say it on the show is the time that Kyle's parlay hits. So just want to say that
I've won parlays the last 2 weeks in a row, dickhead.
But not ones that we've announced on the show. Every time we've done one,
maybe I was just trying to keep the money for myself. I'm broke.
Hey, I'm guilty in that as well. All three of us. I know Jordan's not currently with us, but all three of us, man, we've hit a string of bad luck. So it's good to hear that in the weeks that we weren't necessarily broadcasting, you were still able to get you some money, though. I'm not hating. I'm just saying.
I mean, I didn't win all my money since Krylov didn't fight. That was the other leg of my parlay. Yeah. So since he lost, I didn't get all of the money. But at
What
least
do
I.
you? Oh,
Go ahead.
are you glad they rebooked that fight?
I'd still like to see that fight, and for Span, I mean, I'm more happy about it just for the sake of it's a bummer for him because
Yeah.
I mean, you do all that to make weight and do all that. I'd like to see him, get to have his fight. I mean, fights dropping out for shit that's out of your control. And I mean, again, I'm not one of those people that's going to sit here and be like, "Oh my God, he got sick before the fight. He's a bitch." Blah blah blah. I'm not, bro. I'm not saying none of that, but I do, for the sake of Ryan Spann, think that they need to run that fight. Let him get to at least fight the guy that he's been training for. Because that's the thing, dude. If they would have changed that last minute and then given him a different opponent, man, that changes up your whole game plan. And even though, yes, there's something to be said for you need to be ready for any and every opponent. At the same time, dude,
Day of is a whole different thing, and
especially in a main event fight.
Yeah, and the fact, like, I shout out Nikita Krylov too, because from what I had heard, he had went to the venue like 8 hours early or something for what his fight was supposed to be. Tried to do everything he could with medicals and staff and stuff like that to try to get his body into a place where he could actually perform on that night, and it just wasn't happening. So it wasn't like a medical excuse with the air quotes type of thing. Like, he genuinely did everything he could. So I'm personally glad to see the rebooking, like you said, for the whole Ryan Spann aspect of it as well. But to move on to what we're going to see this Saturday, like you said, I have a couple things on the prelims, and even to start with the early prelims, because I was actually kind of surprised to see one name on there, and that's one Ian Machard Gary, which it's very surprising to me that he not only took his wife's last name, but took it as his first last name, and Gary is now his second last name. So, but
it's
I
Machado, sir.
Yeah, Ian Machado. I knew I pronounced it wrong, but you knew what I was saying. It's just very interesting dynamic.
Guys will shoot you for that.
Yeah, it's very interesting dynamic that he pulled that one off. I get it, respect, but interesting. But
Jiu-Jitsu guys will kill you.
Very, very, very surprising though that we see him on the early prelims. I feel like he was one of those guys that the UFC was really.
You're
honestly
surprised on that on a card like this? I mean, shit. The prelims as a whole, even the prelims got a lot of people on it, and then the main card's stacked. I mean,
they absolutely do. I'm not saying main card necessarily, but I feel like, and the opponent.
You got
I feel
Jessica
like,
Penne versus Tabitha Ricci's on the damn prelims too.
Yeah, prelims, not early prelims.
They are on the early prelims. Yes, they are on the early prelims. I'm looking at it right as I speak. This is right off the UFC's website.
All right.
It says the early prelims are, I don't know how the fuck to say their name, so I'm not even going to try.
What I'm getting at though is they gave the likes of the Patty Pimblitz and stuff of the world this gigantic push. I know he's maybe
I was about to say he's
gained a little more traction. Well, he's gained more traction on social media, but I feel like when Ian Gary initially entered off of his Cage Warrior experience, he had that same type of spark that
is Patty Pimblett?
I feel when he first made his way in, I feel like it was about the same. It just hasn't.
I remember there being buzz, but they were.
It hasn't climbed to that same point, is what I was trying to say.
I mean, I mean, there was some hype around Ian Gary, but I mean, not the level of Patty Pimblett. But that being said, I mean, dude,
and just the fact that they have him taking on a guy that, frankly, I haven't heard of to this point. And looking at his past record, his last fight was a loss against Max Griffin. I feel like it's just surprising to me the treatment. That's what I more so was getting to, not necessarily even the placement. I feel like somebody who's came in, garnered some fan attention, and is now making his return after having his baby, him and his wife having his baby and celebrating marriage and stuff together. I just felt like maybe they would try to do more with the impact back, is what I was kind of getting at with that one. My next one, Cody Garbrandt, man. Glad to see him make his return. That's for sure. What's your thoughts on the whole Trevin Jones fight?
Who's he got again? Give me a second.
Trevin Jones.
I think this fight, to be honest, to me, it all kind of comes down to what Cody Garbrandt we see, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the line here, and they've got Cody Garbrandt as a minus 175 favorite against a plus 150 in Trevin Jones. From what I can see here, you've got both guys are coming off of a loss. Cody Garbrandt definitely having the more experience of the two as far as resumes go. I think this is kind of, to be honest, dude, I kind of think this is like one of those last chance kind of things for them, in the sense, though, I think Cody Garbrandt gets the dub in this fight. But I
go ahead. Sorry.
I think Cody Garbrandt gets the dub, but Cody Garbrandt needs to be impressive in this fight. I'm not saying he needs to knock him out, but he has to look impressive. If he loses this fight, it's not good for him, dude.
Even if he starts to lose a round, like in a bad way, I feel like this is one of those fights. His original, I don't think the UFC was originally slating him in one of those fights where it's like a.
I just realized J-Bone is coming in hot. Holy shit!
What did he say? I seen his comment, but I didn't have a chance to read it before it flashed away.
Dude, J-Bone is coming in hot. You talk about parlays. This guy says Bo Nickel, Gamrot, Rachmanov, Shevchenko, and Gane for the wins.
Ooh, Gane, huh? I wish we had you on the show so I could hear why you're picking. So, as Jon Jones has been
some money, that's all.
Yeah, as Jon Jones has been saying all press conference, Serial Gane. Why are you picking Serial Gane? No, but in all seriousness, I originally they didn't have Cody slated in one of those fights. They had him against Julio Arce. I believe that's how you say his last name, but it was one of those put up or shut up fights, but it was a much tougher opponent in my opinion. I feel like this Trevin Jones one is, I mean, he's the guy that they were able to find a fill in type of deal. But of course, I'm sure there would have been a ton of guys that would have accepted a fight against Cody Garbrandt at this point. He's still, former champ and stuff, but it's one of those fights, man. I say it once in a while out here on the show with some of these vets, especially the ones that are, trending downhill. And I feel like Cody's so young, he doesn't need to be at that point. It's just his performances that put him at that point, unfortunately. But this is really one of those put up or shut up type of fights, man. I feel like what we just seen with the whole Darren Till thing, I know he said that he asked for his release and stuff like that, but did you see any of that, Kyle?
I heard about it, but I mean, Darren Till's not been doing good for a while.
That's what I'm kind of getting at here with the Cody Garbrandt thing is I feel like it very well might lead to the same type of outcome if we see Cody Garbrandt unable to get the victory this weekend, where even if the UFC doesn't necessarily let him go, maybe Cody would be like, hey, I need to step away from the, but I feel like Cody's still got a lot in the gas tank, man. I feel like he's still like a very solid fighter.
I feel like those are two different examples. Like Cody, I think a lot of his problem is just he got so in love with his power that he was taking a lot of shots on the chin and his chin started to get checked. Versus Darren Till, like Darren Till skill-wise even hasn't really looked good in his last how many fights. And he has the raw skill. We know what he's capable of, but I mean, let's just face it, Darren Till wasn't fighting to that ability. And I mean, it wasn't even because he wasn't around the right people, because then he was around Chimaev and them, so he's around killers, dude. But I mean, sometimes, man, it just burns out and it burns out. I mean, Darren Till's still a great fighter. We'll see what he does next, but I mean, realistically, I think that they were two different. I feel like they're two different situations, especially with the success that Cody Garbrandt was able to have at one point, and even after he lost.
I mean,
the belt,
Darren Till fought for a belt too. He wasn't victorious.
Cody Garbrandt. I was gonna say Cody Garbrandt won a fucking belt.
Yeah, big difference for sure.
So I don't know. To me, a little bit of a difference, but it's definitely a fight to be looking at. As far as in another fight that I'm looking forward to, as far as prelims go, before we get to the main card, Derek Brunson needs to win this fucking fight, or he's gonna go down the rankings. You got number
Big
5
time.
Derek Brunson versus Dricus Duplessis. Shout out to past guest of the show, James Lynch, who's out there in Vegas taking in the fights. I know he just got to have Duplessis on his show as well. I like this fight, man, but something tells me that Derek Brunson might be in trouble.
Oh, really? I was leaning the other direction because I felt like to lean back into the Darren Till thing. I feel like Darren Till was able to outstrike Duplessis is just what I'm going to say because I struggle with his first name really bad. But we seen in their fight together, which was their Duplessis' last fight, that once he was kind of evenly matched, even if he wasn't getting outstruck, he was evenly matched with the striking. He immediately went to the takedown game, which worked incredibly well for him in that fight, being that it's the Englishman and Darren Till that he was able to take down. Now, when you're talking Derek Brunson, that's not going to be an easy task whatsoever. That's his bread and butter is the wrestling. And if anything, I feel like he'll be able to out wrestle and out pressure Dracus Duplessis as long as he doesn't put himself in a disadvantageous position like he has in the past. I feel like he's cleaned up a bit of that, except for that Jared Cannonier fight, which, if I'm not mistaken, was his last fight. That one didn't look so well, man. And I'm a fan of Brunson, and that one didn't look. That one did not look too well. So if we see the Brunson that was originally in this new iteration, this blonde Brunson, as he likes to call himself, when he kind of revamped himself and started to implement his wrestling and stuff again and actually work game plans instead of just going in there and swinging with motherfuckers, once he started actually implementing his game again, I feel like he evolved. But I don't know, man. Father Time may have caught up to him, so you may be right on this one, but I feel like he's going to be able to hang in there with somebody who's a little bit lesser in the wrestling, and I feel like he's going to be able to keep himself out of those positions where he doesn't get outstruck to the point where he gets hurt. But I very well could be wrong on that.
I mean, like I said, it's going to be an interesting fight. Plus, that's one to look at because they got Derek Brunson, according to the UFC website anyway. They've got him as a plus 190 underdog too. So,
okay,
that one might be one to keep an eye on. But let's get to the fucking main card. With that being said, the first card, at least the first fight on a card, especially at least if they go by the list that I see here, we've got Bo Nickel versus Jamie Pickett. What's crazy about this is the only fight on here that they don't have odds for. Why, I don't understand, but
maybe because they're so massive they didn't have enough room to type that number up on their screen or something. Because I know the odds are wild on that one.
I think Bo Nickel is going to come out and put on a fucking show, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you keep hearing from everybody he trains with, all the people that he surrounds himself with and stuff, and even just the confidence that he brings, the fact that he has all the wrestling experience. He talks about it all the time, that he feels as though he's ready for top 10 level talent. So is, like I said, all his training partners and stuff, they all feel like he's at that level already. And frankly, even though I was high on Jamie Pickett when he kind of had made his first ascension into the UFC, it seems like he's kind of stumbled a bit as of late. And to get matched up with somebody like Bo Nickel, for him, like I said, because I was a bit of a fan of his when he first popped onto the scene. When they initially had fell out of the matchup because Bo had gotten hurt. I forget if it was like December or January or something when the first matchup was supposed to happen. I was like, sweet, freaking Jamie Pickett got to avoid that one, man. He gets to go on, fight somebody else. No, they just immediately matched him back up 2 months later with the same killer. So I feel like this is going to be more than uphill sledding. This is like climbing a mountain in freaking, I don't even know, like barefoot or some shit. I don't even know how slippery I could imagine to make this mountain that he's going to try to climb Saturday. But yeah, Bo Nickel probably by domination, I would imagine.
I mean, and it's not a disrespect to Jamie Pickett. Here's the thing. Like, not only has Bo Nickel looked flawless so far as, you know, in his appearances in the octagon, for me, it's the way that he's doing it. Because we don't see a guy like, let's just say, Paddy Pimblett. You brought Paddy Pimblett up. Paddy Pimblett has looked very fucking hittable. Paddy Pimblett has looked he's got holes. Is he a star? Yes. Bo Nickel has not even gotten close to being touched. And then when he almost knocked Homeboy the fuck out in the second Contender Series fight, I mean, dude, this guy, if he can strike half as good as he can wrestle, that whole fucking division is in a world of hurt. Now, we got to see what happens as his level of competition gets raised, but I think in this fight against Jamie Pickett, I think Bo Nickel is going to come out and be trying to put on a show in this motherfucker.
What I really loved about his style, too, is, like you said, Kyle, you know, there's wrestlers, there's D1 wrestlers, there's all-American wrestlers, and then there's guys like Bo Nickel that win Big Ten Athlete of the Year in what's notoriously a football conference. Like that type of shit doesn't just happen. So there's a reason for that. And not only that, but what I really liked about what he was able to showcase in those Contender Series fights, man, is he was so smooth with it. He was so smooth. He didn't look like a wrestler. Most wrestlers have like the stiff arm effect, you know, they kind of look like they're not able to like throw their punches with full intent and stuff. It looks like sometimes, and it takes them more time to round out their game. If anything, it seems like Bo Nickel has transitioned that experience and somehow learned at an accelerated rate in all the other fields. Like how he was able to throw on that triangle and it was just smooth. It looked like somebody who has been trained in jiu-jitsu their whole life and not a wrestler, where wrestlers are usually stiffer in those positions.
So here's the thing, though. Like, I agree. I understand what you're saying with that point, but having trained with a lot of really good wrestlers, maybe not the same caliber as a Bo Nickel, but like even just using past guests to show Bobby Nash. You know, Bobby Nash was a wrestler at Michigan State, which, you know, Big Ten wrestling is what it is. That being said, when you're on that high level of a wrestler, you know, it makes it a lot easier for you to learn jiu-jitsu and things like that because you're not worried about being on your back because you know you can get back up.
Yeah.
And so I feel like in a lot of situations, especially in a situation like Bo Nickel, somebody like that very well picks up the BJJ and everything else he does, because here's the other thing. He's got the one ace in the pocket that you can't do anything about. Every person he fights with, he's going to have better wrestling than. Every person he fights with is not going to want to wrestle with him, is not going to want to go down to the ground, period. If you are, you're an idiot because you're giving him his best chance to win.
The only type of guy you could see maybe give him, you know, any type of issues is maybe some type of jiu-jitsu ace down there.
Even at that, I don't like it.
He's so good at controlling positions, you know.
So with that being said, I think we're both on the same level. I think Bo Nickel is going to win by some sort of finish. The next fight you got Jalen Turner versus Mateus Gamrot. Gamrot's coming off the fight and losing to Beneil Dariush, which is nothing to scoff at because Dariush really should be fighting for a title here soon if he can beat Charles Oliveira. Jalen Turner's been on a hell of a run himself. Just getting finishes and all these things, but he's going to have to be on top of his game come
that's for sure.
You know, UFC 285 with Gamrot. Who do you got, Gamrot or Turner?
Man, I'm such a fan of Jalen Turner. What he's been able to do at 155, his size, his skill, frankly. I mean, he's looked like he's really leveled up his career throughout the years. He really has. And this win streak he's on is truly impressive. And like he was saying earlier in the press conference, he's only 1 or 2 fights away if he wins this one from the belt, man, or at least a shot. And like I say, somebody with his size, if he's able to stuff the wrestling of somebody like Gamrot this weekend, he's at least stands a real shot. You know, like he at least is able to pose a threat to somebody like Islam if he's able to stop Gamrot's wrestling come Saturday. And that's what I feel like I am most curious about this is it really showcases what's not Jalen Turner's ceiling, right? Because he's still young. If I'm not mistaken, he's just now 30 or under 30 even. So he's not necessarily at his ceiling yet. He can still definitely improve his skills, but this will showcase where he's at currently and where he can contend in the division at the current state of it. And that's what I think I like the most about this matchup. And Gamrot being such a dangerous opponent, that Dariush fight was a tough one for him, but he was game throughout and even had his moments in it where he was able to do some really good things against, like we both agree, the rightful number one contender at the moment, at least. So it's an interesting fight, man. I want to say Jalen Turner is able to get it done, like I say, with the size and stuff. And I feel like his ceiling has the potential to be higher, but we'll see if he's able to stop that wrestling, man. Gamrot's a tough motherfucker in there. So
who are you taking, Gamrot or
well, like I said, I want Turner to win, and I feel like his skills and he has the potential to have a higher ceiling. Like I say, so I'm rooting in that direction. But Gamrot's it's going to be a tough. We'll see where his wrestling's at with Gamrot is kind of where I'm at.
So, in other words, he's taking Gamrot. That being said, I agree with a lot of what you said. I think if Turner can find a way to, use that reach, because he's also got a 7-inch reach advantage on Gamrot, but I think Gamrot gets the win. But if you're looking to sprinkle a little money with Jalen Turner being an underdog, he's only at plus 175, but that might not be a bad one to pick. If I'm picking for who I think's going to win, I think Gamrot's probably going to win. But that being said, Turner definitely has the ability to win. All right, we're to the last 3 fights of this card. This fight is crazy if the odds are really what they say they are. But you've got Jeff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Shavkat.
Shavkat.
He's Shavkat. Yeah, there you go. Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm sorry, I just couldn't help it. But with that being said, Jeff Neal versus Rakhmonov. Damn, they got Jeff Neal as a plus 390 underdog on this one.
Yeah. And looking at them do their stare downs and stuff, like I had said, I watched the press conference leading into this one, man. Jeff Neal, he's, if I'm not mistaken, his nickname's like Hands of Steel or some shit, right? He better have Hands of Steel going into this one, man, because this is going to be an incredibly tough matchup. This is one of those guys where everybody's kind of like, he's the lesser talked about Kazmat. Like, he's that next up and coming guy out of Kyrgyzstan, if I'm not mistaken, and he's just been running through guys since his UFC ascension. And I don't know, man. I feel like Jeff Neal has a chance. He definitely does. He's landed really impressive shots on guys. He's showcased to me a real improvement in his skills throughout the years too. Like, if you look at some of his fights and then you flash forward 1 or 2 fights and it's just like, oh, hey, you really took that, like, Neil Magny was able to take you down and now kind of control you up against the fence, and all of a sudden now you've learned how to not only improve that aspect of your game, but you're actually like really implementing it in these fights so that we can see the actual improvement. So he's just in a really tough spot, man. It'd be really hard to go against Shavkat in this because he's just kind of ran through a lot of guys, and he's beat guys that have beat Jeff Neal. And I
But
know
don't
MMA
sleep
math.
on Jeff Neal's last win too, beating Vincente Luque and beating him the way he did.
Mhm.
Shit, I didn't
That's what
didn't expect that. So
that's what I'm saying. I feel like if there's somebody that in this like ascension of 170 that could give him problems, it could definitely be Jeff Neal just because of his strength and the fact that he he throws them things very calculated though. You know, he's very accurate and he's very good, but he really does throw power behind those hands. So I don't know, man. I feel like Shavkat's gonna probably be able to get it done, but don't sleep on Jeff Neal.
don't sleep on the knockout. I think Rachmaninoff might win this one as well. But dude, Jeff Neal is on a 2-fight win streak, beating both Santiago Ponzinibbio and then Vincente Luque. You know, he's on a fight win streak, a couple of good wins. All I know is I'm looking forward to that fight. But if I'm picking one, I think Rachmaninoff gets the dub here. Let me get my thing to go back. All right.
Valentina and Grasso.
Valentino and Grasso. Grasso is definitely, here's the thing. Alexa Grasso is really making a tear into the female flyweight division. Now, if you are trying to make some money, just saying, this might be the fight to try to do that on, because Alexa Grasso is a plus 530 underdog against Valentina. Now, I think Valentina is still going to get the dub, but man, if you're looking to sprinkle, boy, sprinkle. I still might be sprinkling a few on that one because I need some money in my pocket.
It wouldn't be the worst idea with those kind of odds because what, like $10 pays you like $80 back or some shit, but that wouldn't be the worst idea, that's for sure. But I
ain't gonna be part of my parlay, but shit.
That's what, it wouldn't be. It would be worth maybe a sprinkle because I feel like Alexa Grasso has definite skills. I just feel like if you look at any particular aspect of her game and compare it against Valentina's, I don't see any particular way where she's going to beat her. She's not a better striker, and I feel like that's where most of her game lies, is in her striking, Alexa Grasso.
I think Grasso's best chance is she's going to have to try to come out and put it on Valentina right off the rip. Like, she's going to have to try to throw Valentina out of that rhythm and really try to put it on her early, I feel like. If she doesn't, I don't think as the fight goes on that she can overwhelm Valentina.
I mean, she's a Latino woman, so I'm sure she's got that fiery side in her. But when you look back at most of her fights, that's not. I don't feel like that's usually how she is. She's very calculated and she's very methodical in there. She lands her shots, gets in and gets out, and she's very smart with her game plan. I feel like sometimes she throws power and stuff, but I feel like it's more measured than like you're saying, come out blitzing or something in the first round to try to catch her off guard type of deal. Absolutely.
When I say blitzing, it doesn't mean to be calculated, but I feel like she's going to have to try to throw Valentina off her game in order for her to be able to be successful.
No, I know that's what I was just about to say. Is I absolutely agree with that. In one fact, though, that's where Valentina's she has two, I guess, noted weak spots that we've seen to this point, and she starts fairly slower in the first round. She takes a minute to get the feel of her opponents, which is completely fine for me. I get it, especially at a championship level. Do what you got to do to where you feel comfortable. But like you say, if that is something that the opponent feels as though she could take advantage of, why not try type of deal. But her second thing has been her ground game. She kind of got taken down a little bit and controlled there by Jennifer Maia. And then her last fight against Talia Santos could have arguably went the other way because of the wrestling and takedowns. So, that would be like my two things that I would say there's potential for. But I feel like I was saying with Alexa Grasso, her wrestling is probably the same level. I feel like when you look at the way she's able to implement takedowns against people, it's more of like momentum, like type of throws and stuff like that, not necessarily like clean wrestling or anything like that. Granted, does it work when it works? Yeah, it works when when it works 100% of the time, but it doesn't always work. And sometimes you end up on bottom with those momentum shots like that. So I don't know, man. I feel like this is going to be a tough one for Grasso. With those odds, it could definitely still happen too, and like you say, she's been on a tear, but against people that Valentina ran through for the most part. So that's where I feel like the difference is on this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm taking Valentina in that one. We're to the main event. Plus 165, or no, I take it. Jones is the minus 165 favorite. Gon is the minus 140, minus one or plus 140 underdog. I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than people think.
Okay.
It just in the sense of I don't think that Jones is just going to blow him out, but at the same time, man, the story of this to me comes down to, I mean, yeah, we know he's put the weight on. Yeah, we know he's been training for a heavyweight fight camp, but can he take the shots from a heavyweight? Can he wrestle with heavyweights for 5 rounds? Because even though this isn't a title fight, well, it is a fight. Excuse me, the heavyweight title fight. I forgot that they have that on there instead of it being the interim. Even if it wasn't, with it being a main event, it's going to be a 5-round fight. So I don't know that I see Jon Jones trying to point this one out for 5 rounds, dude. I think Jon Jones is going to have to try to finish him in it. Not that I think if it goes later that it favors Cyril Gane, maybe. But with this being his first fight at a new weight, first time carrying that weight, first time taking heavyweight shots in a real fight, I think Jon Jones is going to be trying to come out to make a statement. I'm excited to see him back in the cage. But I still stick by what I said. I think these two should have fought for the number 1 contender in the winter fight, Stipe, since that's already the fight that we're hearing about after this happens. Sounds like Dana thought the same as I did. Go fucking figure.
I don't know what happened with the Stipe thing. I heard they tried to make it happen initially, and then kind of like Stipe said, I need an extra month when they were offering it like a couple months back, and then
which he should be entitled to.
Right, and then they pushed the date forward, and then still didn't contact them, even though that was basically with aligning with the timetable he was asking for in the beginning. So, who's the bad guy in this one? Is it Stipe or is it the UFC?
Stipe gets a raw deal from the UFC most of the damn time. Some people are going to complain because Stipe gets to jump the line, but dude, Francis Ngannou is gone.
Yeah,
at least for right now.
The only guy to beat him that he wasn't able to avenge the loss over. Granted, he beat him the first time, so they're still 1-1.
So they're tied 1-1.
Yeah. So I honestly was on the side of they should have ran the Ngannou and Stipe fight back a third time once Stipe got healed.
But I mean, I would have been okay with that. But I mean, with the situation we're in, it's
either way, with the situation being what it is, the Jon Jones return is slightly tainted in my aspect because of the fact we got him in the title fight against somebody that is
already lost to the champ.
Yeah, already lost to the former champ, and it didn't have a victory over him. Didn't look rather impressive in that fight either. Granted, he came back and beat Tai Tuivasa, but I feel like that was like a perfect matchup style for him. So either way, here we are. This is the heavyweight title of the world on the line Saturday. And for Jon Jones, man, he ain't Bones Jones no more. He's Thick Jones and everything but his legs, man. I wish he would have done a little more work on them legs while he was out. He's still looking like fucking he's got 2 pencils down there. But other than that, man, that little bit worries me, honestly, with the leg strength and stuff like that. I know he said he's squatting crazy numbers and stuff like that right now. And I got no reason to not believe him. He looks like he's in pretty good shape. I wouldn't say he's in like top tier heavyweight shape, but he looks like he's in solid shape. He looks like a guy who's more worried about performance than aesthetics. That's what I would say. And we'll see how that ends up translating. And to your point, Kyle, how does he end up carrying that physique over 5 rounds is definitely a big thing, in my opinion. Does he gas out? Does he start to get tired or anything? I mean, he's kind of been notorious for the opposite of, even when he does struggle in fights, he turns it on in later rounds on people. So we shall see in that regard. But my big thing was, like I was saying to AB on Tuesday, is man, we've seen Ciryl Gane get taken down by Ngannou rather easily, controlled there for multiple rounds, and that was against a guy that does not have the level of wrestling that Jon Jones does. Granted, Jon Jones is from 205 moving up to 265. Is he a natural heavyweight in the sense of like that's his natural body physique, or was he more of a natural 205er? We shall see the way his heavyweight career kind of
I
plays
think
out.
it's
But
fair that he's a natural 205er, but again, in the same way that I'm saying size can be a disadvantage, I mean, you also have to take into account on the exact flip of that. Jon Jones' wrestling technique is going to be better than Ciryl Gane's, whatever anybody wants to say. So as long as Jon Jones is able to carry that weight well and be able to distribute his strength against a guy who's naturally bigger than him, I think in the wrestling side of things, it goes towards Jon Jones, because that's the other thing.
Sure.
If Francis Ngannou, who's not nearly the wrestler that Jon Jones is, was able to take Ciryl Gane down like that and beat him up like that, Jon Jones can take him down. It's just going to be, can he hold him down with that being a heavyweight?
Yeah, that is also a thing. And like I was saying with the legs, man, I know you can't necessarily judge a book by its cover. And like I was saying, the whole squat numbers, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. But when you look at Ciryl Gane, that boy has fucking tree trunks underneath his hips, man. He is fucking, those thighs are thick. So I'm sure he's got a strong lower half, for sure. So, like you're saying,
he may
Kyle,
be strong, but we'll have to see where that wrestling skill comes from, because
the
that's the thing, dude. There's levels
Yeah.
to that shit, dude. And if it's a guy like Jon Jones who can take you down like that, he may not even need to shoot. And if he starts shooting, that brings a whole nother level to Jon Jones too, because he hits a lot of trips and things. But dude, if he comes out and just tries to wrestle Ciryl Gane, I don't think that's what Ciryl Gane is expecting either. And that's what makes this fight so crazy too, in and of itself, because not only could he come out and wrestle him, you got to still worry about Jon Jones and all his strikes. And if he can mix all that shit up, dude, that's going to be a tough night for Ciryl Gane, dude.
I'm very curious to see what the kicks and stuff look like from heavyweight Jones. I mean, he's always been really good with his kicks, in my opinion, at least. And with this time off, I'm sure somebody like him's been studying the game and stuff, watching like the implements of the leg kicks and stuff like that have kind of taken over to a certain degree. I'm sure we'll see some new rounded aspects of Jon Jones, and I feel like Ciryl Gane could definitely catch him. He could definitely hurt him, and he could definitely get Jon Jones out of there if he's able to land those strikes on somebody like Jon Jones. But I feel like that's one thing Jon's always been really good about. He's had a really solid chin, granted at 205. He's always been really elusive on strikes, so even when people do hit him, they don't usually land flush, granted at 205. But I feel like Jon has the better skills.
He does. That there's not a way to argue.
Every aspect of the game. In every aspect of the game.
If his skills can translate to heavyweight, he's going to be the better skill-wise, and there's not any arguing it. Because if you're really being honest, I may not be the biggest fan of Jon Jones' antics outside the cage, but if we're talking about skill for skill, Jon Jones is the greatest MMA fighter of all time. So, with that being said, Jon Jones, Ciryl Gane, who wins? How?
I say Jon Jones gets him down, is able to control him on the ground, whether it's through the first time or not. I feel like he'll be able to get multiple takedowns if needed. I feel like that's one thing Ciryl Gane's kind of showcased, is even when he does get up, he's not necessarily the greatest at staying up always. And I feel like Jon Jones is going to be able to get on top of him, maybe get to mount and land some of them elbow shots and get him out of there through that.
I was going to say, I kind of am thinking a third round TKO for Jon Jones. I think he's going to have to wear him out a couple rounds, and then maybe that'll open up his striking. But I'm going to go third round TKO Jon Jones. All right. So if you're gonna put together a parlay, who's it gonna be?
Bo, even though it's going to make me no
I was
money,
gonna say,
it's probably
I
going
was
to
gonna say
lose
that.
me money on the parlay. But I feel like I got to get a winner out here, right? I got to get a winner out here. So I'm going Bo, Valentina, Jon Jones.
Holy
That's what
shit,
I'm
those are
calling the
horrible
winners
odds,
parlay.
but yeah, that could be a winner's parlay. Holy shit, those odds are gonna be hard, dude, because they're not even showing Bo Nichols odds, and then you're taking Valentina at minus 730, and
Hey,
then Jon Jones at
your
minus
boy needs a
165.
victory, man. Your boy needs a victory.
That ain't
I ain't
giving you no money though.
I ain't rolling. I'm not a betting man though. I'm a fucking picks man, and my picks parlay is those three.
I mean, as far as who's gonna win, that's not a bad pick. But
Who else do you feel confident enough to throw in there though? That was the thing, because
I'm looking through it.
I was thinking about that as well. Like, who else do I feel like would be a solid addition to add in to replace somebody like
All
Bo
right.
Nickel with such high odds? But go on.
I'm gonna go. Let's go. Jon Jones. Jeff Neal.
All right.
And
Might as well throw Jalen Turner in there then if you're going Jeff Neal. Might as well go double up against the wrestlers.
thing is, though,
I feel like that's more of a winnable fight than the Jeff Neal one. I feel like the Jeff Neal one's a tough one.
yeah.
I mean, you're parlay, but that's a tough one for me.
You know what? Just for parlay's sake, I'm gonna go Jalen Turner, Jon Jones, and we'll go. Fuck it. I'll keep Garbrandt on it. So Garbrandt, Jon Jones.
Okay. I
Garbrandt,
thought
Jon
about that
Jones, and
one.
Jalen Turner. That's where I'm going to go for my parlay. We're going to have to see where it goes. UFC 285, AEW Revolution, whole bunch of shit to talk about. We talked about it. I'm hot, I'm tired, and I got Burger King to eat, and I might get snowed in. So in the meantime, the in-between time, we appreciate y'all. Make sure you check out the sponsors. Make sure you check out Michigan's Finest. Make sure you're checking out that smoke train on the way down to Astronomicon. Saturday night, UFC is doing its thing, and then you got Revolution Sunday. Shout out to our other sponsors, G3 Payroll and Tax. Get your taxes done, and make sure you check out the state of pro wrestling. So until next time, and in the in-between time, I don't know. We'll have to see if Luke Rockhold can survive in bare knuckle. Peace.